Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS, inventor of the CTKS method and BORSOG trading. If you're new, a very warm welcome. And welcome back, KS family. From my 30 plus years in financial markets, I explain the smart money mindset to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love, gaining real wealth and positive excellence in the process. Let's run the numbers. Bitcoin is currently up 0.17% to 19,847. Ethereum is up 0.61% to 1568. Please note, I don't have WhatsApp or Telegram. If somebody contacts you in the messages on YouTube and they say, contact me, message me, and they give you a WhatsApp or Telegram address, please avoid it. They're scammers. We have a number of upcoming events in the markets. On Wednesday, September 7th, the ISM Services PMI. On Thursday, September 8th, Fed Chair Powell speaks. And next Tuesday, the core CPI comes out and the CPI month over month comes out. And on Wednesday, the PPI month on month comes out as well. We're around 16 days away from next FOMC meeting, and we can see the probability of a 75 basis point increase has actually come down quite a lot. It was 57% one day ago, it's 56% today. But in the past, we saw readings as high as 75%. Why has the percentage come down? If we look into the market, we can see the 10-year break-even inflation rate and the 5-year break-even inflation rate have both gone off a cliff. This is actually helping. The problem typically is that for inflation rates, break-even inflation rates to come down, the market has to also come down. That's not too pleasant. For example, when we look at global indices, we've seen the Nasdaq try to get above this resistance line and fail. It's getting sold down very, very hard, and this is spilling out literally into the entire world except for Russia. And when we look at Bitcoin, we've seen a very similar situation. Bitcoin has been coming down after its rally. There was a lot of directional correlation between the Nasdaq and the major indexes and Bitcoin, but Bitcoin didn't do as well as the major indexes did do. Masterclass students, you get my live chart and a deep discussion on this in LV19. Let's do some very quick analysis on the Nasdaq. We can see that the Nasdaq came down, hammered in a lower low, and then rallied. Now, how did it rally? It basically came up to this particular resistance level, bobbed up and down, broke through it, came back, retested it, and rallied, blasted through this particular area all the way up to resistance. It was looking really quite good, but what we saw that it came down and now it's about at that support level. We could get a technical bounce in the Nasdaq. Now we're going to look at Bitcoin, just decrease the percent visibility of the Nasdaq. It's still there, it's just in the background. So what you can see, Bitcoin came down very similarly, formed a bottom, but notice there was a double bottom here. We got up to this particular resistance, it rallied, and now look how weak actually Bitcoin is. We need the Nasdaq to rally. We don't want the Nasdaq to continue down. Of course, the S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, they're all very similar patterns at the moment. We don't want the major indices to go lower because that may mean we get a sell-off in Bitcoin. That's why we've been tracking that Armageddon line. You can see just how different the price action is between the major index, the Nasdaq, and Bitcoin. You must look to the main markets to understand crypto. The other thing, if you're in the stock market, Bitcoin is a very, very risk-on asset. And a lot of stock market commentators don't like Bitcoin, but the truth is Bitcoin is here to stay and there's no question about it. So getting familiar with it is a really good idea. Also, it can give preemptive signals on the major indexes. So you should be looking at it if only to understand the stock market better. We're seeing a lot of global weakness, and that's coming out in the ACWI, the All Country World Index, and you can see just what a sell-off we had and what a rejection we had of higher prices as well. We have to think about if a technical bounce in the indices is possible. In the last trading session, we saw the fear gauge, the VIX, come down and then spike up. And what we saw is a partial rally in stock prices, then a fall down because the VIX inverts price action. We saw bond prices sell off and start to come back. Gold sell off and start to come back. The dollar is currently rising up towards the 110.689 mark, and we can see bond yields starting to come down. Oil is starting to actually just find a level of support, and we can see junk bonds are indicating risk off. Looking at the DXY, using the CTKS method, we can derive dynamic daily smart money buy and sell levels. These are called Stanfield levels. They're really important to understand. We can see the DXY has literally shot up. This particular SL is very, very strong. The fact that the dollar has rallied like this, we could view that as a flight to safety. And what we're looking at here is Bitcoin. In the background, when we have a push up in the DXY, Bitcoin typically pushes down. This is meaning, because you saw how risk orientated Bitcoin is, when we have these moves in Bitcoin, we're also having them within the stock market. We can't be too prescriptive because sometimes the DXY will rally and Bitcoin will come up. So just be aware that this is a kind of an inverse relationship that's between Bitcoin and the DXY, but it doesn't always hold true. What happens if I invert Bitcoin over the DXY? Do you see any relationship? Please let me know in the comments. And note, this is on the 4-hour basis. Before we were looking at the 1 hour. If I invert the SPX or the S&P 500 index, do you notice any directional correlation between the inverse of the stock market's major index and the DXY? Again, please let me know what you think in the comments. We've seen the metals selling down in relationship to the inverse of the DXY and the inverse of VIX. These two inversion symbols are actually quite useful for us to use. And Masterclass students, we do a deep dive in this in TR23. Let's have a look at the SL levels on gold. And what we see is the gold rallied up to this SL, this dynamic smart money buy and sell level. In this case, it was a sell level because it was resistance and it backed off. And we know what the dollar is doing currently, so it's not looking too crash hot for gold. Just keep your eyes on two very important structural levels, 1729.4 and 1710.7. Gold is currently trading at 1720. One thing to note is the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq and Bitcoin. See how all of these are in directional correlation in the 2-hour time frame with gold. The reason that we look at so much data, and of course we mark our charts up with the CTKS method, that allows you to get your SL levels in. The reason we look externally is we're like really, really good financial detectives. We're understanding and collecting probabilities. We need to do that because if we don't, we'll get blindsided if we just look at our beloved alts and we don't understand deeper market context. But before you buy or sell, it's really important to have positive excellence to guide your aim. Mastering emotional control is utterly critical as an investor or trader. And we know all investors become traders anytime they buy or sell. We have a bit of a directional correlation with Bitcoin and the stock market. And we know from Rule 45, no alt can escape Bitcoin's gravity. The key word there is escape. Ultimately, the alts will be brought down back into alignment with Bitcoin. And it's just a question of time for these things. So we can see Ethereum moving in a directional alignment with Bitcoin, but it's showing somewhat of a degree of strength. I saw something interesting on Twitter yesterday. Some people really like downtrodden stocks and downtrodden cryptos. You do not want to back weakness in crypto because a crypto can go all the way to zero. And the same is exactly the same case in the stock market. Be very, very wary of something that's come down and down and down more than the other things, if you like, because we've had quite a degree of negative price action. Just be careful. What you will find when things are weak, they're weak for a very, very good reason. It's just a reason you may not know about. And how do we gauge relative strength and weakness? What we look at is in the crypto market is Bitcoin's fingerprint. You can see this blue line, that's Bitcoin. And what are we looking at here with Ethereum? It's stronger. We can see Binance coin is directionally correlation is aligned at the moment. And we can see ADA is doing really, really well. It's had a bit of a pump here, fantastic. And XRP has some more strength than what Bitcoin does. But if you saw an alt that was way underwater, way underneath Bitcoin's gravity, and it was just going in a straight line down there, not actually obeying this directional correlation that you see in all the other alts, be very, very careful. It will probably take all your money. Let's have a look at Solana. You can see the correlation here, directional correlation. We can see a little bit of strength coming up at the moment. But when we consider what the DXY is doing, that's actually really concerning for us. You cannot make your decisions on what alt to get into just from the alt chart. You've got to look at all the other charts that influence your alt. And the first one is Bitcoin. And then you have to look at the major indices, just like what we do every single day. Looking at Doge, Doge has come back into directional correlation and is starting to show a little bit of strength. DOT is showing more strength, but you can see this directional alignment, and Matic has been doing really well, but starting to flatten out. So when we look at these charts, what a lot of people, when they're just fresh into the market, they would say, oh, look at ADA, look at Matic, look at DOT, it's all getting better. I'm going to go all in and more. We are professional smart money traders and investors. We have a completely different mindset to retail. The first thing we do is to weigh the probabilities right across the markets, both internal and external to crypto. We ask the question, on the basis of probabilities, do we think the market is going down, going flat, which means it just goes wavy up and down within a range, or going up? And then we think, okay, just like a traffic light, consider the red light first. What is the percentage chance of our trades going against us, going nowhere, or going for us? And we put percentages on that. And how synchronized are we with the market? If we just can't seem to get our positions right, we've got very, very low synchronization. But if everything you touch turns to gold, or Bitcoin in that case, yes, you are 100% synchronized with the market. So just understand that the market consistently wants to desynchronize everyone. And the BORSOG code, this thing that you see in the comments each and every day, it's trying to align where people are thinking and how confident they are and what direction they believe the market will take. Our community is incredible. It's always actively learning. And when you actively learn, the market rewards your knowledge and the application of courage. We have one of the best communities on YouTube. And well done, everybody, for sharing your BORSOG codes. Each day you embrace active learning is a day that you are headed on the road towards more profitability. If you're new to our community, please subscribe, and you can just say hi in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. As Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's really good to keep your eye on it. It can throw tremendously good signals for the main markets. If we have a look at Bitcoin's price action, we can see just how closely the Nasdaq 100 is following Bitcoin. And don't forget about the weekends. The major stock market indices do not actually do anything on the weekends, but Bitcoin and crypto do. And what are we seeing at the present time? We can see Bitcoin is under first level resistance, it's under second level resistance, it's bypassed third level resistance, and slightly above fourth level resistance. It's around 5.31% away from the Armageddon line, and the Armageddon line is a place we don't want to get to. We don't want to see Bitcoin just dip below this support, even dipping below about 19,500 would be a very, very bad thing. Because what we see when we lose a level of support, we can get a pretty substantial downward negative price action to the next level of support. And if we don't have a level of support very close to this Armageddon line, and we really don't. That can be a problem. So we need to prepare ourselves now for it. I've been trying to prepare people since we had a weakening in the support structures up around the 15th of August. Now, this doesn't mean you need to come completely out of the market. I would suggest that you always have in your trading bag, and of course, if you're a long-term investor, you know what you're doing, so it doesn't realistically matter. But the concept is, in your trading portfolio, you can go to the majority of cash when you start to see weakening issues in the market play out with, for example, Bitcoin under resistance. We don't treat the market as a gamble, and we don't treat it as a get-rich-quick scheme, because it doesn't exist. The market only rewards your knowledge, and it rewards your synchronization more than anything, and you only get that from knowledge. What do we see at the moment? If we're looking at Bitcoin's price action on the 1 hour, so we've gone from the daily down to the 1 hour, what we actually see is Bitcoin has been very weak. The other thing we note is the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and several other indices are at technical bounce levels, so we may get some positive upthrust in the main market. So just keep that in mind. But the fact that the dollar has jumped like it has means that that bounce may not last for long. When new traders and investors first get into financial markets, they enter the panic zone because they're not quite sure what to do, what to look at. It's all very confusing and very complex. And then when they've done some work and they've put their money on the line and they've listened to people saying, oh, you can get 100% return at 0% loss, and they find that's just simply not the truth. Losses are a part and parcel of financial markets. They're actually lessons. The loss gives you a lesson, and when you learn about what that lesson is, and it's never about other people, it's just about what you can do better next time. And why isn't it about other people? Because other people can never come into your house, to your computer, and push the buy or sell button. Only you can do that. So it's really important to have control and mastery over your own decision making. In zones 1 and 2, people lose money, and this is what we all go through when we enter the financial markets. It's nothing abnormal at all. It's totally normal. And what happens is a lot of people exit when they get to zone 2. They just give up. They say, oh, this is not for me. But if it's in your blood, and it's in a lot of people's blood, you'll just get drawn back to it time and time and time and time again until you get into zone 3 and zone 4. This community is all about zone 3 and zone 4. We help people get over zone 1 and zone 2 into zone 3. One thing that you will find in zone 1 and zone 2, people want simplistic answers. They want an answer. So do I buy? Do I sell? What do I do? Be precise and be correct. In zone 3 and zone 4, we don't even think like that. We think like a good detective. We accumulate probabilities. We have a lot of rules that govern our behavior, and we have a lot of knowledge and skill. And what we do is that we stack the probabilities together. What we say, okay, Nasdaq and major indices are at a technical bounce level. There is a probability that the markets will go up. However, the DXY is strengthening, which indicates a flight to safety. So we may have a bounce, but it could be short-lived. And that, if the major indices bounce, we would anticipate that Bitcoin will bounce also. If not, it will bounce before. And we've been seeing a lot of weakness in Bitcoin recently, so the fact that it could bounce quickly and then decay. And then we seek to understand all of those things together and make our A&F strategies for that. Inside the masterclass, you'll learn all about these lines, how to draw them, what they mean, and they mean a lot. What we can see recently, we broke underneath support, and what we're doing now is coming back and retesting a whole collection of resistance levels. You can see that actually Bitcoin has actually rejected off this resistance. It's pushing price down, but we have this upward support. If the upward support is holding, and we're getting to a kind of critical place here because there's so many resistance levels above the current price action of about $20,000 that it's quite easy for Bitcoin to actually decay down. So this is what you will find in zone 1 and zone 2. People want a real black and white answer, and anybody that gives you a black and white answer will be wrong, because the concept of markets is that it's always ever changing, always synchronizing and desynchronizing. In zone 3 and zone 4, we don't look for black and white answers. We look to collect probabilities. We look at this price action and say, okay, how is its support line being held? Not too badly at the moment. It's coming up to resistance. What happens at resistance? People sell. What happens at support? People buy. Now, the support and resistance levels are getting closer and closer and closer. If we get price over here, for example, to this literally $20,000 level around this particular point, 5th of September, that's going to look really good, but then it has to contend with these resistance levels. But if it gets above that, hey, whoa, this is looking really good. What is the other scenario? It can hit this particular resistance level, try to maintain support, but not actually achieve it. Come down to a lower support level and bounce, seeking negative air because of sellers, because the DXY is getting pumped. And professional traders and investors know that's not a good sign. And what about the lower support level? It could come down to there, say 19,424. But we're aware that we're actually under a resistance level, and we're just coming back for a retest and probably a resumption down. But probably is probably. Always have your three-dimensional thinking at all times. What if, for example, it goes as we expect? Okay, have your strategy for that. What if it consolidates flat? Have your strategy for that as well. And what if it actually goes up and it starts to rally? Have your strategy for that. When people get into zone 1 and zone 2, they have only one strategy, and that's everything goes for them. And that's not reality in the markets. Looking at the dynamic daily smart money buy and sell levels on Bitcoin can be a very, very good thing to do. And you get these levels when you find confluence in the CTKS method. They're called Stanfield levels because they're not just any price level. What we see with these SLs, we can see that Bitcoin is currently trading at $20,003, and there's a very significant SL at $19,980. We also have support at 19,509. Beware the Armageddon line at 18,942. Just keep your eye on this particular line. You can think about it like this. If you could, for example, make a decision not to participate in downward price action, would such a decision be in your advantage, or would you just prefer to hold on? Whatever the situation is, it's good to make courageous decisions ahead of time. And when we get across this 19,980 mark, there are two levels of resistance, and this is structural resistance. This is not formed on recent price action. It's formed on all price action. Bearing these things in mind is quite useful. What you actually tend to see is the price will bound down to an SL and then go up to a higher SL and bound between ranges. This can be really, really beneficial if you're looking for it. And remember, these SLs change every day because dynamic price action changes every day as well. And we can see an absolute party line of resistance around the 22,400 mark. So just bear that in mind. And around 21,500, we have resistance up there too. If we go through the Armageddon line, we do have support at 18,240, 17,560, 16,811, and stronger down at around 16,250. So we wouldn't anticipate that it would fall like a brick, but it could. And the truth is, when you're synchronized in with the market, you can take advantage of these big pullbacks and spikes up. You can do incredibly well, but you need to get synchronized in with the market first and foremost. Another way to stack probabilities is to look at the shorts and the longs in Bitcoin. We've seen a lot of recent price action with an upward momentum. In all probability, the shorts are getting liquidated. It's like a differential calculus equation. It's kind of a rate of change issue. It's almost like if you got into a bath and you ran the tap, the water is flowing out, but you've got a sink, you've got a plug where the water comes out. That's all about differential calculus. It's fun, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look at the rates of change. In the shorts and the longs, we can see over the past 24 hours, 62.33 million in total liquidations across 19,440 positions. And when we look to the past 24 hours, about 65% of total liquidations have been short, 71.15% over the past 12 hours. Over the past 4 hours, a little over 90% short. And over the past hour, 95% short. Oh, the poor old shorts are getting whacked by the longs at the moment. This is all about this rate of change idea. But you can see, in terms of actual volume, it's really, really light. And this reflects the holiday weekend nature in the US. And I can hear some people saying, Ken, it's not about the US. The issue is that about 60% of investment funds in the main market, in the stock market, is in the US. I would suggest that the two key levels you keep your eye on, 19,509 and 20,402, you can see we're pretty much midway between these two different SLs. One at support at 19,509 and one at resistance at 20,402. Please let me know in the comments, where do you think things are headed? Wabi Sabi had a really good question for me in the comments from yesterday's video. How effective can rate rises be to stop inflation in an energy crisis? The answer to that question is not much. The real energy crisis is about supply, and so much outsourcing to cheaper countries has occurred, and so many, for example, in the US, so many wells have been shut down, and the ability to turn those wells back on is a multi-year process. So the concept of actually solving an energy crisis is to put more sources of supply within the global economy. Having affordable, reliable energy is really, really important. What the Fed is going to do is to try to create demand destruction. Demand destruction literally means that they destroy demand. How smart. Why do policymakers only have two tools, monetary and fiscal policy? They need more. I've been saying for decades that countries need innovation policies, but the problem with governments is they're typically so hamstrung by bureaucracy, they simply can't get anything done, let alone do any form of innovation. But that is the way to solve the crises of our day, to innovate, to get the inventors out there to solve the problems. Every problem has a solution. Thank you for your question, Wabi Sabi. It was a good one. In yesterday's video, I was talking about courage and what is the link to inner peace and outer peace. I would like to share a quote with you. It's just one I created, which embodies a very big problem. Inner peace starts happiness. We've got a pandemic of unhappiness. It's everywhere throughout the world. People are fundamentally unhappy. Why? Because they don't have inner peace. And why is that? Because society pushes everybody to reject their current level of happiness. If you've got a particular car that does the job, you shouldn't have that car, you should have a better car. And if you have a house, you shouldn't have that house, you should have a bigger house. And if you don't have a partner that looks like a supermodel, hey, what are you doing? And if you don't get 100% in every single exam, oh no, you must be a failure. And if you don't win first prize in every single race, hey, what are you doing? There is no inner peace in this world. How about we put a stop to that right now inside our beloved global family and just look with gratitude at what we do have, looking at the whole instead of the donut. That's a recipe for unhappiness, but inner peace is all about gratitude. What do you have to be grateful for today? Are you breathing? Do you know so many people are not? So many people are sick. So many people have died. There's always a good way to look at life. And you might look at your financial situation and say, I'm just so disgusted with my finances. But if you've got skills, you can get out and work, or you can create and invent. You can do all sorts of different things. If you're breathing, be grateful. Being grateful, being part of a community, that's something to find happiness in as well. LGRC said, I think courage is intercorrelated not only with inner and outer peace, but with knowledge as well. I read, the commanders in the past were looking at the battlefield from above, the hills and the mountains, because this offered them the overview, picture, and sense of calm into the battles. When you have the knowledge presented in the CTKS Masterclass, you're not alone anymore in the battlefield. You have the best tools and equipment. Knowing that, you can move with courage and with inner and outer peace, applying patience and forgiveness on ourselves because we did everything that we could, even if things sometimes go against us. I'm sorry to hear, my friend, that you're in a life pullback because of a patellar fraction, a kneecap fracture. Ow, that's very hard. And you've been on pause for the last 2 weeks, but you've invested this time into finishing the masterclass and applying the CTKS method. Forgiving myself for this mistake and moving forward with courage, knowing I will become twice as strong and wise after this accident. Well done, my friend. And it's a really lovely statement. Every day I read your comments and the comments, of course, of the community, and I'm becoming stronger, keeping up with the spread of knowledge. Even if you think it seems something ordinary, maybe it's what one person needs to hear. All the love to you all. That's really beautiful, LGRC. And this is the quality of the people inside our community. If you have friends or family who could benefit from positive excellence and what we do here each and every day, please introduce them to our community by sharing a video. We'd love to see them here. We have one of the best communities on YouTube. And Wabi Sabi, thank you for your comment, my friend. And Wabi Sabi said, thanks again, Ken. I do remember the one day you didn't make a video. This community is fantastic, and I only created a YouTube account to be a part of it after spending a long time lurking. That's beautiful, Wabi Sabi. And here's a really cool statistic for you. On the channel and across the masterclass and the coffee club, we've done combined 966 videos. Whoa! With 1 day off because I was sick. Free Dentist shared some really great stuff. Courage is the gateway to inner and outer peace. It was hard to find courage again after decades of being lost in life, lost at sea. And Free Dentist talks about the importance of reaching out to get help from others. It's a really beautiful thing. Thank you, my friend, for sharing. I also wanted to let you know, as promised, I did LV23. Thank you, Beardy. That's potential directional secrets to the market. This direction inside the market is really, really important to understand, and I gave some very, very powerful tools in there. And this is in the masterclass because there's so much background that's required. Edwin shared a really good concept on courage, reframing fear, accepting what is going, and transforming. We are constantly challenged by obstacles and difficulties in life, and the bigger the problem is, the more fear we will face. By reframing how you face fear, you'll be able to master your emotions, and courage will start to rise as you accept reality and be willing to make a courageous step to make things happen and transform. As your knowledge and experience expands, so too does your courage. It's absolutely excellent, Edwin. And inner peace begins at the moment you choose not to allow another person or event control your emotions. Having control of your own emotional state is really difficult sometimes because we can feel at the mercy of others, but we're never at the mercy of others. We only think we are sometimes. Outer peace, the physical and even environmental state, comes from inner peace and our perceptions at how we look at things and how things affect us. It's so easy to get offended in this world. You don't have to look far because basically everybody's in the scarcity mode. Well, not everybody, but most people. A lot of times people don't mean offense, but they can be very offensive because they're just looking out for themselves and they don't understand that there's a wider context to human interaction. But the key is not other people, the key is ourselves. How do we deal with things? When peace is gone, Edwin says, when peace is gone, go back to the roots and have a conversation with fear. Yep, pull up a chair for fear and say, fear, sit down, I'm going to have a talk to you. If we feel negative excellence is rising, anger, greed, hate, blame. Zone 1 and Zone 2 is negative excellence. You don't want to be there. Peace will also fade away. The only way to combat negative excellence is to get into positive excellence. What is that? Zone 3 and Zone 4. My heart goes out to all the people who didn't have the best day for Father's Day yesterday, and that could have been because they'd lost a loved one, or it could have been because of the divorce system in Australia, which is highly adversarial. And a lot of people actually reached out to me and messaged me saying, Ken, I didn't have a good day. I didn't have a good Father's Day. My kids didn't contact me. My heart really goes out to you. I think this system is utterly broken. If you think about two people that loved each other once and then they go to court and fight things out, the kids are the ones that suffer and then the parents suffer. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. I wish we had a different system. And I know I'm not alone in thinking those things, not only about the divorce system, of course, but about the school system, about how governments do things. I believe a focus on positive excellence can and will change the world. If you can just bring a little bit of positive excellence into your day, each and every day, you will find sustainable fulfillment, meaning, happiness, and success. And you can just do it where you are with what you have right now. You don't have to go on a course. You don't have to do anything like that. If you just show a little bit kinder, a little bit more kindness around you, a little bit more of integrity, a little bit more gratitude, just a little bit more. Try to get a little bit more inner peace and outer peace. The whole world will look brighter and you will be happier. And isn't that what you truly want? One thing that we haven't talked about in the positive excellence framework on the community channel is empathy. What is it? What does it mean? And how do you apply it? Without empathy, we cannot be a part of positive excellence because we won't see other people. We'll only see ourselves and our needs. Developing empathy is the first and most important thing anybody can ever do. You cannot have kindness without empathy because that kindness will not be genuine. When people have empathy, they can have genuine kindness, which leads to inner peace, which leads to happiness. And you want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I just wish I could read out more. And I love reading out your comments. I appreciate our community so very, very much. There are just so many brilliant shares in here. Please have a look. I just want to thank each and every one of you. And if you're new to the community or if you've been watching from the sidelines, please just reach out and put hi, just an H and an I, and press enter. That's all you need to do. And you'll find just how awesome our community is. And a special thanks to Michael. Michael has a wicked sense of humor. I just love your humor, my friend. He was talking about the Armageddon line. Armageddon line, if you have a strategy to deal with, you'll be fine. But Armageddon, I'm a getting crushed, or I'm a getting a bargain. Armageddon. Well done. Well done, Michael. Or I'm a getting a bargain. Yeah, it's a great perception on Armageddon. And thank you to each and every one. If you're interested in doing the masterclass, we have a number of CTKS partial masterclass scholarships. You'll find the application link in the description of this video. The masterclass is all about active learning, and the way that I assess these different scholarships and who gets them is by commitment to active learning. And again, I want to thank Kerry, Purpuratum, and Tails for their very kind generosity, reaching out to help others. It's such a beautiful thing to do. Well done, my friends. When you look at the crypto market, or indeed any particular market, always have the probabilities playing on your side. And always have your ANF against, neutral, and for, or against nowhere and for. Three-dimensional thinking at all times. Price can go either up, flat, or down. But the probabilities always change and they weight towards one of those three. Just bear that in mind. Please consider sharing and liking this video and also subscribing to the channel. We would love to have you as a part of our globally extended KS family. And before we trade or invest, we do the CTKS Creed. which is a series of positive affirmations that prime our mind for profitability in the crypto market. I know the universe wants me to succeed. Every day I show kindness, integrity, and gratitude. I know opportunities and life reset daily. I am worthy. I go slow to go fast. I start small and scale with BORSOG. Life pullbacks give me the strength for the next life rally. I am dedicated and committed. I win or learn and never blame. By saying these words, you're on the path to positive excellence and a much, much happier life. Please remember, crypto is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there, my friends. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.